Welcome to Nightmare Echoes. Listen, scream, and embrace your obsession. I'm your host Eleazar, and today Jesse's back to look at the online world of Hellraiser Hellworld. How much of the game do we get to see? Did the timeline of events make sense? And how do we rank this movie against the others in the franchise? If you dare follow us, all our links are in the description. Next week on the podcast, Scream 7. But until then, a movie that ends Doug Bradley's run as Pinhead, Hellraiser Hellworld. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Nightmare Echoes. This is your host, Eleazar. I'm joined again by co-host Jesse. Jesse, how's it going?
Pretty good.
All right. So today we are covering Hellraiser Hellworld, also known as Hellraiser 8. It was released in 2005. It was the last of the Rick Boda trilogy, and he basically filmed 7 and 8 back to back. Like, he was already in, was it Bucharest?
Oh, yeah, right. It's Romania, so it's the same.
Right. And that could be seen with some like small little, we forgot to put an American license plate on this vehicle during this scene kind of things, which is funny.
For me, it's mainly noticeable because in the credits, almost all the names are unpronounceable Romanian names.
Yeah, it's hard to look up who some of the actors are who have a little bit of a scene here because there's no picture on IMDb. They're not in anything else unless it was the Hellraiser movie before this.
And if you're trying to spell their names, they've got the little weird accent marks that you can't type on an American keyboard.
Yeah, exactly. It was adapted from a script by Joel Sionson, which I don't remember the original name, but just like the other two before it, they took a script that was not intended to be a Hellraiser script, bought it, changed it to a Hellraiser movie, and they're like, oh, that's going to work great for a Hellraiser movie.
Yeah.
Whether it did or not.
I mean, we're at Hellraiser 8 at this point. So it's not like, you're not expecting Citizen Kane, right?
Right. That's true. But I like that the movie went a different route. That was kind of fun. It has Lance Hendrickson in it, who is probably the most well-paid actor for this, at least already established.
Certainly the only one that I had immediately heard of.
Okay. He was in Aliens. He was in the Millennium TV show. He's been in a lot of horror like Pumpkinhead. He was in The Terminator. He has small roles in Jennifer's Body and other movies.
And ironically, I had just rewatched The Terminator a few days before. So.
I love that movie. I got my littlest one to watch all of them with me. All 6 movies, not the cartoon. But it was funny. Somewhere around part 4, he turned to me and said, this isn't as good as the second one. And I go, buddy, none of them are. And he goes, oh. like the sadness, like, oh, and we got 3 to watch. Which is funny. It has Catherine Winnick. She's been in the TV show Vikings. She was in the Stephen King movie adaptation of The Dark Tower. And some other things. But nothing else that I've really watched. The guy that plays Jake is Christopher Jackett. I don't know that I've watched anything with him in it. Henry Cavill, that's the other actor who I know really well.
I should have known him, but I didn't.
Because he was in Man of Steel as Superman. He's also in The Witcher. He was in Mission Impossible, who has a funny thing because there's a lot of weird editing things going on with his mustache. But when he went into fight, he did this double punch downward, like he was chambering shells into his fist, like they were the guns, and he was like before he went into, like he was loading his arms, which is hilarious. But when he does it, not only is that funny because he brings it back when he plays Wolverine later, because he does that to do his claws, which makes more sense.
That makes a lot more sense,
right?
Yeah.
But when he does that in Mission Impossible, his mustache grows because of the editing. Like they edited the scene together, and so people were like, "You were upping your manliness, and your mustache just grew." He's like, "I needed it for the fight." Like people tease him about that. It's like little details. It's funny. Anybody else? Obviously, Doug Bradley. He's been here for the last 7. He's here again.
Of course he is. It's all about him, right?
Sometimes, yeah. And sad to report, if you haven't seen the rest of them, this is the last time that Doug Bradley is in these films.
In other words, it's the last real Hellraiser, right?
Yeah, but I think we're still covering the others.
Oh, yeah.
It had a budget estimated around $5 million. It was straight to DVD, so there's no how much did it make. It obviously had a 0% of critics score, but the audience score was a 22.
What does that mean? Out of 100?
Out of 100, 22%.
Oh, that's not too good.
Yeah. But anything you want to say about it before we go through the whole movie?
Let's just charge boldly forward.
Sure. So we get a small clip at the very beginning of the movie of some guy digging with a pickaxe in a room but into a dirt floor. And I'm never really sure why he's digging.
I was about to say the same thing. I never completely understood that part. And through the whole movie, I kept trying to figure out more about that. And I'm disappointed they didn't talk about it more.
Right. Then we cut to a funeral because that character's name was Adam. And it's this close group of friends who are all obsessed with this game.
By the way, I should also just add that the intro to a movie like this matters. And a lot of the other Hellraisers had pretty cool intros, you know? This one was boring.
Sure.
Like, the intro was just boring. It was just like boring. Here's an intro to a movie. Like,
so, yeah, I think what would have fixed it in the editing is we eventually see what he does when he's after this pickaxe.
yeah.
The character pours kerosene or gasoline over himself.
Yeah.
And lights himself on fire.
Why was he digging if he was just going to light himself on fire?
Maybe so he already had a grave. I don't know. People didn't have to dig for him. He was very selfless.
It
doesn't make any sense. I don't know.
No,
but it would have been a more interesting opening if we saw what he did.
Yeah.
Then just get this brief flash of like, what was that even? I kind of forgot about it in the movie for a while.
Yeah. I was underwhelmed by the intro compared to the previous ones.
Yeah. Oh, completely. So we're at this funeral. His friends are there. Those friends are Chelsea, Allison, Mike, Derek, and then we also meet Jake, who's the one that seems the most affected, at least outwardly, by the death of Adam. Mike tries to ask him how he's doing. He seems to take it out on the rest of the group, like it's their fault. When Allison asks where Adam's family is at, Mike says that his mother was the one that found his body and implies that she went a little crazy. And then he says that his father is on some business trip. He names all these countries, but doesn't know where. Although Derek thinks that Adam made up his dad because they never met him. And think he really doesn't have a dad. He was just never really able to admit that to them.
I don't think they ever really resolve that either.
They do.
Oh, they do?
Yeah.
Oh, hang on. We're talking about Adam's dad.
Adam. The guy that...
Okay, sorry.
The guy that's dead.
My brain swapped two characters.
Oh, you're good. And those two characters, if you're talking about Adam and Jake, I think the actors look a lot alike.
Yes.
And I saw the picture. They show a picture of those two characters together. And I do think that they look like they could have been brothers.
And you know me, I have a hard time telling faces sometimes, so I hate when that happens.
Sure. Right. And so I could understand. I knew which two you mixed up right away.
Yeah.
So Mike stands up, tries to tell Adam that it was just a stupid game, but Derek reminds him that they were all addicted to Hellworld. And this is where we get the introduction here. That in this reality, according to these characters, Hellraiser is only a game. It doesn't really exist. It was just made up for a video game that they're all addicted to.
Okay, and to me, they're never 100% clear about that because the game is called Hellworld.
Yep.
But they also reference Hellraiser, which suggests, I thought, that the entire movie series existed.
Right, but they never say that in there. So I think that...
They do say the word Hellraiser, though.
Right, yeah, but they don't ever talk about the movies. So while a lot of people take it as this is the real world outside of the movies where Pinhead comes out and attacks people anyway, I feel like the movies never came out, and the Hellraiser lore has gone into legend as being a myth. And it's like the old adage of the greatest thing the devil ever did was convince the world that he didn't exist.
Sure.
And so I think in that way, people aren't scared of a Hellraiser because they don't think it's real. And like we see in this movie, aren't afraid to mess with the box.
I think that's a perfectly valid interpretation. I don't think they really clarified it. I thought it was interesting that we are in a situation where the characters actually do know the lore, because previously it's always been a bit of a mystery. Nobody really knows completely what's going on. They only know whatever little part of it they've been introduced to. And here suddenly everybody knows the whole backstory. They know everything that's going on. So surely there's going to be no real risk here, right? Like, there's nothing that can, because they know exactly what not to do. And the characters show you that from pretty early on when they start saying things like, look, I can't possibly be in any real trouble because I didn't open the box and I didn't, and I love that. It's like the horror geek sort of, I know exactly how this works and I'm going to figure it out attitude. And,
right.
And yet.
I do think, though, we see here that the movie does address a real problem that some people have had in the past, which is addiction to like MMO. Like there are people that have like quit their jobs or like dropped out of school because they're addicted to an online role-playing game.
Yeah.
I know one of my professors, like in the middle of class, started talking about how he couldn't convince his son to leave his room unless it was to eat. And his son dropped out of college all because he was addicted to a game. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like that's crazy.
And for a movie that claims to be all about a game, they never really show the game.
For like 5 seconds.
Yeah.
And it's like this stupid door that they have to figure out how to turn the handle.
And nothing ever references the game.
Yeah.
So I feel like, why is it even named after that? Like,
Yeah, it seems like a missed opportunity, especially with the tagline of like
yes.
Hellraiser goes online.
Yes, I was gonna bring that up too.
I thought it should have been Hellraiser went to the real world or something.
Yeah, because we never nothing about this movie is online.
Well, right. Yeah, yeah.
It has no connection to that except that, oh, there's a little bit of backstory relating to that they casually mentioned. But that's, yeah.
Right. Yeah. Well, so we get this. Jake leaves. Chelsea goes up to, like, she's going to try to go after him, but doesn't. She instead goes to the casket. And then when she's up there, a decaying body jumps out of the casket and grabs her. She screams and no one else reacts. Then she wakes up. Just like every other Hellraiser movie recently, someone wakes up from the
Right.
event. It's not real.
Can I also mention that her hair is tied in a really strange way?
Okay, you can.
Like she's got like I don't think I've ever seen this before. Maybe I'm just not a fashion person, but like she's got these sort of pigtails, but they're just like tied in multiple places.
This is the blonde one?
Oh gosh, I don't know which one it is. I think so.
There's a brunette and a blonde. The brunette has shorter hair.
No, I think it was the blonde one. She had long hair, and it was like the groups of hair were tied with individual little wraps all
Okay.
up and down them. And I thought that was, I don't think I've ever seen that before, and I didn't know if it was supposed to be reminiscent of like bondage stuff, because there's always bondage stuff in these movies.
Sure.
But I mean, hair bondage? What the heck is that?
Right. I know that I felt like the brunette, Allison, had a bunch of rubber bands in her hair, but her hair was much shorter and kind of out.
Well, I don't know.
Right. Anyway. Okay. So we get a title card that says 2 years later. She's asleep on her couch. She wakes up. There's a knock at the door. She looks out the peephole. Can't see anybody, but then the knock comes back. So instead of opening the door with the chain still there, the little chain locks so she can open without being in danger, she unlatches the whole thing and just opens the door straight out when there might be danger outside the door, which I thought was stupid.
Mm-hmm.
And then we get what looks like Bound, but it's really Mike in a mask that he paid $100 for. And she's not scared because, as she says, Cenobites aren't real.
Right. And because she didn't open the box.
Right. And so, yeah, it looks like they're dating because he comes in and kisses her right away. And he logs onto the game that she hasn't played for 2 years. He tells her that she talks all the details about the game. She obviously knows a lot about the game, even though she doesn't play anymore. And he shows her how he solved the puzzle to get invited to this party on the following Friday to the Leviathan house. And she's like, there's no way anybody else wants to go, citing that both Allison and Derek wouldn't want to go. And we cut right to Derek and Allison, who are playing the game, where it's Allison's account, I guess. She finds the door. This is the only gameplay we see. She spends like a few seconds learning how to open the door, which all she did was, I swear, turn the knob.
Yeah.
And it opened to the invitation, which says Hellworld, Friday, 8 p.m., Leviathan House, 86 Hillbound Road, and it says no guest. And because it says no guest, Derek realizes he has to log on his own account so he can do the same thing she did to get his own invitation to go. Then Chelsea calls Allison, who asks if she's really going to that thing, and she's trying to kick Mike out of her apartment at the same time. Mike tells her that the website shuts at midnight, so if she's going to earn a ticket, she has to do it by then. On the phone, she tells Allison that they're not kids anymore, and Allison says it's just some party. Chelsea says the party is just like going to a Space Voyagers convention. And Allison says the two are very different things. I think that was like, so they didn't use the Star Trek brand, like Space Voyagers.
Yeah, I guess that's what I didn't pick up on that, but I guess
Right.
somewhere around here she uses the phrase Hellraiser Geek Brigade, which I thought was a little bit of a shot at the fans, which to me is very funny.
It is. But I don't think of Hellraiser fans as geeks. I see them more as like horny people, you know?
Horny geeks.
Okay. So we cut to Friday where Allison is getting picked up for the party in Mike's Toyota Supra. Mike is driving and Derek jumps into the back seat and inviting Allison to jump back there with him, but she instead gets in the front seat and shoves the seat back, trapping his leg. Mike joins in the fun by trying to seatbelt her in so she can't possibly pull the leg forward to let his leg free. That's when Chelsea pulls up in her much roomier Ford Explorer. Now, interesting fact here is that Mike's car has a New York license plate on it, but Chelsea's Ford Explorer has the Bucharest license plate on it because that's where the movie was filmed. And it probably explains why Allison has a foreign accent.
And then they have a bland travel montage. Surprisingly bland, actually.
Yeah?
I mean, they could have done almost anything here.
My favorite line from this bland montage is that when she says that getting back into the game was like any other ultra-violent, 24-hour, widely popular, utterly useless, embraced by the masses, internet role-playing game.
Yeah.
I was like,
They're talking so much about this non-existent game.
right.
How did they not publish a game to go along with the movie, right?
Yeah, well, they couldn't afford the thing. I mean, the graphics were that bad. Who would have bought it? Like, it looked horrible.
I mean, but that's how shovelware a lot of the time is. But it's the whole movie is basically an ad for a game. They might as well actually make a little bit of money on it.
well, the Hellraiser game is coming out soon now. Like, they've announced one
Well,
this year.
Then they missed the timing.
Completely. You're right. But we haven't. Right? Like,
True.
somewhere between daylight and the next scene, which is now night, Chelsea's car magically swaps to New York license plates. They were just Bucharest license plates. Now they're New York plates, which means one of two things happen in movie canon. Either they went on a brief unseen murder spree where they stole another car, which is also a Ford Explorer, or Ford Explorer keys are basically like TV remotes, and the keys just work on whichever one's the closest. So they made a pit stop. They filled up their car with gas, but then hopped into the wrong car and kept driving without noticing. And I think it's the second one, and I'll explain why later. Even though I know it's a silly,
Okay.
because it obviously was a mistake in the editing, or that they put the wrong plates on.
Continuity, yes.
Yes, but there's a bit more evidence to this later. At the Leviathan house, Chelsea knows that Adam would have loved this place. She isn't as eager to go in, so Mike literally picks her up on his shoulders and carries her into the house. Inside, the place is decked out with Hellraiser-themed decor. There's even a giant puzzle cube. Yes. And all the party guests, who are all supposed to be computer geeks, somehow look like they just stepped out of a modeling catalog.
Well, yeah. Well, same thing with like the movie Hackers, right? Like,
oh, sure.
Like, yeah, that's what hackers look like.
Yeah, exactly. Derek sounds exciting, saying he has died and gone to hell, before Mike and him see a woman walking down the stairs with her boobs uncovered. Derek says it's a gratuitous tit shot, but Mike says it's a necessary one. Allison pulls both the boys in another direction, claiming that they are being antisocial. That's when Jake arrives at the party and no one's happy about it. Allison goes to hug him.
Yeah, and why is he there? They never really explain it, right? Like, why would he have come?
So
I guess they kind of do. They mentioned that he's there to see a girl, right? But
right.
But still, like, with how upset he was, he wouldn't have thought he would have come.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, maybe,
the ending kind of, but yeah.
Sure. Derek says that Jake blames them all for the death, and Chelsea says that she blames them all for Adam's death as well. Mike says it's just a game, and that it was Adam's decision. Then the host shows up, played by Lance Hendrickson, and he asks for their invitations. They pull out their print of the invite, but I want to say there's no code on it. It doesn't say their name.
Yeah.
So there's no reason they would have had to have multiple people beating it to get this invitation. Really they could have just made photocopies of it.
Yeah.
He invites them to his office for a drink, even though there was an open bar out there. And this office is decked out with like the ultimate Hellworld fanatic. They're all excited about all the stuff in the rooms and the bookcases. Mike grabs a pair of tarot cards, flips them over to the death card, pretending that it's a bad sign. We also see that the ink on the card kind of smudges on Derek's finger, and he's confused about it.
Yeah, and
or Mike's finger, sorry.
So were we, because like
yes.
that seemed like they're implying that these were just printed, which implies somehow that they're fake or something about this. I don't know what they're trying to say, right?
Right.
We find out later, but it wasn't obvious yet.
Derek's excited about the painting of Le Marchand that is hanging up. Allison sprays herself with some perfume, which apparently stings her a lot. The host gives Mike and Derek some shots and tells them to knock themselves out, though the rest of the group refuses. He then takes them a tour on the Leviathan house, which he calls Le Marchand's second greatest architectural achievement, citing the puzzle cube as the first. They go to the basement, where he tells them that Le Marchand was commissioned to build a convent that was eventually shut down when one of the Mother Superiors, Sister Ursula, whose vows were shattered by her obsession with the tiny puzzle box and unholy puzzles inside. The host continues to say that a lot of nuns disappeared without a trace, and Mother Superior is found, but she wasn't all there. And he says she went to pieces, which sounds like Cenobites ripped her apart.
That's what he said. Like that, yeah.
After that, the place became a home for the criminally insane until the staff reported events that were paranormal in nature. That led them into a room with all these specimens in jars or containers, which looks like fetuses. Others look like faces and heads that have been preserved. Kind of reminds me of the governor's house in The Walking Dead, where he collects all these zombie heads in fish tanks. Everybody besides Jake seems excited about the room, which does have some, like at least one big chain with a hook hanging down from the ceiling. The host tells him that one night...
There's Chekhov's gun for you.
Right. The host tells him that one night the staff injected themselves with local anesthetics and started amputating each other's body parts. Derek seems excited about the house that might be haunted, and the host tells him that the night should bring them many answers.
Why anesthetics? Come on, this is Hellraiser.
Yeah, right? Yeah.
It's all supposed to be all about people pursuing pain, right?
Pain and pleasure, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Allison tells Derek that the room is giving her goosebumps, but then also tells him that it's making her nipples hard.
That's more Hellraiser.
Yeah, right?
There we go.
Mike asks the host who owns the house today, and he tells him that they do. Derek is spooked when he sees a dead baby in a jar move, and Chelsea tries to make small talk with Jake, who says he came here to meet a girl, but she can't get much more out of him. The host notices that Chelsea is underwhelmed, and she tells them that the props are cool, but Le Marchand is a character from a game, the puzzle box is a myth, and Hellworld is just a game. He asks her if she's thirsty for more, and she says maybe if there's something that she believes in, it would scare her. He asks what about pain before sticking a golden nail into her arm. This must be laced with something because she starts to get woozy and falls over. We see Doug Bradley himself as Pinhead pull the nail out. We get a small flash of her in a coffin screaming as dirt is falling in around her. Pinhead said Adam was right, and then we see the coffin lid closing in a POV shot before we see her friends catching her, stopping her from falling over.
Well, there's so much to unpack here, right?
Yeah.
So first of all, do we ever find out? I mean, we keep hearing this line over and over again. Adam was right. Mm-hmm. What was Adam right about?
I think that Hellraiser's not a myth.
Okay.
Adam believed in it so much that he was willing to give his soul to the Cenobites.
I see. Okay. But the second thing is the scene with the coffins and all that. Once we get to the end, sort of seems to imply that this is the part where, like you said, that there was something on the nail or something like that. But it doesn't quite make sense to me because she's in a room with all the others, and then
So we'll totally get there, but I don't mind. You're right. If 3 people were drugged in the first room, her and Jake would have noticed their friends passing out, but instead they're drugged but don't pass out until she passes out with them.
Yeah, it doesn't.
But
make
then
sense.
What happens to Jake doesn't even happen until he's alone in another room. So it doesn't line up. There's no way that she would have stayed there if her friends passed out.
Yeah.
Because he says a line at the beginning, since the beginning of the party, it was all hallucination.
And since you don't know any of that at this stage, what it looks like is it's just another one of these, oh ho ho, and nothing is real or isn't real. You never know what's real. And to me, again, like I've said on previous episodes, I think that kind of undercuts the horror, right?
Yep.
If you don't know, if you're always wondering, well, did that really happen? Then it's not as scary.
Right.
And so, I kind of don't like that myself.
Right. So he says he needs a drink, and we cut to the party where there are all these white masks with each having a unique 4-digit number on them. On the table with those masks are old-looking Nokia phones, which each are linked to a mask, and the gimmick here...
Were they old at the time, though?
2005?
Yeah. I mean, they look old to us now.
I feel like they were from 1998.
Okay.
I do feel like that.
All right.
But maybe. I see what you're saying, but I feel like those Nokia... Yeah, I think I had one in 1998.
Yeah?
But I guess they wouldn't have been that old then.
Certainly not as old as they are now.
Yeah, sure. So the masks have these 4-digit numbers that are linked to the phones. But on the table, the phones aren't labeled in any way that would let you know which one to grab with what mask.
There's so many of these little things.
I mean, it's like, it doesn't, right? And then a lot of the characters grab phones but no masks. So there would be no way that anybody would possibly know how to call them.
I mean, if this is all basically a dream sequence, it makes more sense that details wouldn't match, right?
Right. Although, as you point out, Jake hasn't had anything happen to him that he would be dreaming yet. But yeah. At the party, Mike tries subtly to tell Derek to go somewhere else because he wants to be alone with Chelsea. They each have a shot, and then he walks off. Elsewhere, we see Allison in the party trying to catch up with Jake, but he brushes her off. Derek is talking to 2 women when his phone rings. He answers it because that's supposed to mean someone wants to hook up with him. But when he answers the phone, it turns out to be Allison, who is blocking him from hooking up with the 2 other women. Which makes sense to me because in the beginning, it felt like it was set up that they were boyfriend and girlfriend. But they don't seem that close if he's just going to go sleep around with any woman that will take it.
Yeah, I thought there was supposed to be some weird dynamic there. Like they have some sort of a relationship, but they're having trouble.
Could be.
And
Yeah.
so they're kind of messing with each other a little bit. Like,
Right.
but it wasn't very clear. I agree.
Right. Also, the caller ID said Allison, which they're supposed to be anonymous phones, so that
Right.
shouldn't have worked.
Right.
And that happens a lot through this movie.
But again, if it's all a dream sequence,
Yeah.
then
Okay. All right. Derek is annoyed when the ladies he was talking to aren't there anymore until he sees someone on the dance floor that piques his interest. Back with Mike, we found out that Mike and Chelsea were never an item and that she was sort of in love with Adam. Mike pisses her off when he tells her that she's holding a torch for a dead guy, and she storms off telling him, go fuck somebody, but tomorrow I want an apology.
which is kind of fair in
Okay.
context. I mean, the guy died, right? Like,
Yeah.
at least choose your words a little bit better.
On the way out, some guy tries to make a move on her, and she grabs him using an arm bar, twisted his arm, and telling him to go enjoy the party and let's go. So, on first watch, there's something that happens way later that I'm like, that came out of nowhere. But this detail shows me that she's had martial arts training or self-defense training of some kind. Because she grabs the guy that grabs her, flips his arm around into like a locked arm position, and has to let go for him to be free. So I think that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Allison tries to say hi to a guy, but he won't give her the time of day. Then she sees a door that says keep out, which she takes as an invitation. Inside, she finds a bunch of statues covered with cloth. Before finding a torture chair, she jokingly says, kids, don't try this at home, before sitting down, and is shocked when the arm and feet metal cuffs lock her in. That's when the host arrives to tell her that the chair has drained many Hellworld visitors before, and it's the fastest way to drain blood from the body without decapitating someone. She begs him to let her out. He tells her not to worry because it's perfectly safe unless you unlock the mechanism, which he does pull a pin out and puts it in her hand, although because she's cuffed, she can't put it back in. We see the blades activate. They start going towards her. They saw her chest area, her neck, kind of between the two. She screams, and Pinhead is there to ask if she believes Adam now.
Kind of like that one. That's one of the more tortury scenes.
Sure.
There's a lot of scenes in this movie that are not traditionally Hellraiser-esque.
Right.
But
It's a little reminiscent of Saw.
yeah.
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 We cut to Chelsea, who thinks she hears something. She finds herself to the room that says keep out, but she can't get in, and she gives up. And we see that inside the room, Allison is dead. Chelsea sees someone else she thinks is Adam, and she follows him. She enters the room with no one else in it, and the door slams to lock her in. Jake looks at his phone to see that no one is called, and he seems disappointed because he was meeting that girl there. But again, he didn't get a mask with a number, so even if she was looking for them, she wouldn't know what number to call.
Right.
Then he enters a different room. On the computer monitor in the room is a picture of him and Adam. Then the host shows up to tell Jake that Adam was so talented that he was able to make his own lament configuration. Jake takes the box, even though he thinks it's not real, and 4 nails pop out, stabbing him in the thumb, and this is when he's supposed to be drugged. Yeah. Pinhead shows up, asking if it's just a game now. He screams, fall backwards, but catches himself on the wall, and when he looks, no one else is in the room. There's nothing displayed on the monitor. Jake goes to the window and sees the host digging graves with empty caskets next to them. Mike is taking shots when he sees that woman with a jacket, but it's opened, exposing her bra. She's also wearing leather pants and one of those creepy masks. She's dancing in the middle of everyone and gives Mike an inviting look. So he calls her, even though he's standing right next to her, and asks if she wants to dance. She shakes her head, and when he asks if she wants to party, she nods her head. We cut to Jake, who enters a different room where the music is less loud, and it seems kind of like a more cozier area in the party, though he finds out quickly that no one there can see him. He tries to order a drink for the bartender, but he's ignored. The bartender is played by Carl V. Dupree, who wrote the screenplay of the movie and is credited as the writer for Hellraiser Hellseeker, which is kind of how the writer for Hellraiser 3 played the bartender in that one, which is kind of cool too.
That's an interesting tradition.
Yeah.
At this point, like this whole scene where everybody's just ignoring him, you got to think, wait, is he dead? Is he already a ghost? You know, they get you wondering, but the scene just kind of keeps going, and it's like, okay, we get it.
Right. Well, he does see a couple just having sex on the couch, and he asks everybody else, like, are you seeing this? They're just having sex right there with everybody, but no one sees him. There's a point where he looks to see that everybody's now hanging from the ceiling, completely covered in blood. There's blood everywhere, until he sees 2 other people walk in, and he's shocked that they're not reacting to this. But when he looks back Everything seems back to normal, although you don't see the couple on the couch having sex anymore.
But I do think that that's kind of a interesting reversal. Like, I was assuming it was him that was dead, and it was everybody else.
Right,
Actually,
yeah.
right? But the whole time he's wandering around in this little area, right, I'm thinking, like, why don't you try interrupting something in some way that people can't ignore you, right? Like, if people are ignoring you, you grab someone's drink out of their hand or something, right? Like,
Yes, or slap them or something.
well, but even that, someone could ignore. I mean, he
Okay.
did physically touch some people, but, like, if you take someone's drink or if you interrupt something that they're doing, something's got to happen. But
Yeah.
that's not what happened.
So we cut back to Derek, who's dancing with the woman he had eyes on earlier, and she's really into him. Unfortunately, here comes a very common horror trope with character desperately needing their inhaler. I feel like I've talked this about a lot in other podcasts, but we see it in Signs, World War Z. We covered it in Strangers Chapter 1 and Scream 2022. And there's a lot of movies that this is the case, though. So Derek pulls out his inhaler. It falls on the floor and is kicked around, kind of like the antidote in Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. Then it falls in a vent to the floor, sending the character to the basement. We cut to Mike, who's happy because the woman has him sat down in a really nice, comfortable chair and is giving him some head. But she's wearing that creepy mask on top of her head. And for me, that would just be like, could you take the mask off? Because that's really creepy. I can't look your direction while this is happening. Not to be ungrateful if I was getting head. But
he is kind of ungrateful because he answers the phone.
She hands it to him.
Yeah,
The
but
phone rings
still,
and she hands him the phone for him to answer.
which is a hang up.
I know. So, yeah. On that phone is Chelsea asking for help because she's locked in the room. And he's like, oh, you want me now even though you blew me off earlier. And he ends up just hanging up on her.
And he's like, gosh, just the acting, man.
It is pretty bad.
You could at least pretend that you're not just bored in a chair and
That's
nothing's
what
happening.
I was like, is it just me or is this the most non-sexual blowjob in a movie?
Yeah,
I was like, I don't feel like the character is in any way enjoying this.
right.
Back to Derek. He gets down in the basement. He's trying to pry the inhaler from between a wall. It's inside the wall. And there's like a vent on either side. And he's trying to yank it out. He's finally able to get to the medicine. He lays down to recover when we see Pinhead is in the room, grabs a surgical tool and swings it down on Derek just as he opens his eyes and is decapitated.
It kind of seems like they're implying that the inhaler was drugged here, like with the way that they shoot it and everything.
Sure, but he was supposed to have been drugged with a shot earlier in the room.
I know. And that's part of why it's confusing. I mean, the way they film it, it looks like when he takes the inhaler thing, it looks like he's getting high on it. It's like really strange.
Right. What also
I'm not
doesn't
sure
work
what's
for me
going
in this whole thing, and I'll mention it here, is that the ability for them to have the same hallucination and being experiencing everything the same seems weird to me.
Yeah, they try to patch that up by saying, oh, they had phones so they could hear each other, but like,
Yeah.
no.
They were on a 5-way call.
Yeah.
We cut to the host who's digging up more graves. Meanwhile, Jake is walking around, presumably still looking for the girl, when he sees a nun on the upper balcony. So he goes up there, finds the old dusty bedroom with very old photos. He sees a nude woman in the mirror who isn't there when he turns around. Then she comes behind him, grabs him, spins him around, and starts to make out with him. Slow music plays while they seem to have normal, casual sex.
Another thing, when he got the inhaler,
Yeah.
like, that was a good opportunity to increase the tension, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, the inhaler should have, instead of working,
Been empty.
or worse, it should have sprayed like spiders or something. Like, it should have been, because everything has been kind of like that so
Right.
far, right? Like, it should have sprayed, smoke or something, like something that's the opposite of what you want.
Right. So after sex, this woman's in his arms. He has a vision of the digging that Adam was doing at the start of the movie, who has the puzzle box, which seems to be flowing with blue electricity. We see Pinhead is also there watching. Also, the woman that slept with him is the same actress that plays Sister Ursula, so we're supposed to believe that he had sex with Sister Ursula, or the ghost of Sister Ursula. Back with Chelsea, she gets a call from Allison, and when she answers, Allison is screaming, "Help me." Chelsea thinks it's a prank, but then the host starts speaking over the intercom, telling her not to worry because she will see her friends again sooner than she thinks. She then sees a text that says Adam was right. The host says, "Welcome to Hellworld," and some cool music starts playing while we go check on Jake, who has fallen out of the bed. This is kind of a montage between Jake and Chelsea. Chelsea calls 911 in her room while Jake gets dressed. The 911 operator tells her she can't hear her, and we get a lot of shots of the party, and we get another shot of that couple having sex on the couch. I guess they just wanted to get as much footage of that as they could in the movie.
Makes sense.
This is when the cops arrive. The host goes out to talk to them. They ask if they can search the grounds, but the host says no because he doesn't want to interrupt the party or give the guests the wrong impression. Chelsea's on the phone telling the cops her location, but when they look in the window, they can't see her. They run a trace, and they said that the call is coming from the cop's own phone, so he acts like this is a prank that all kids know how to do. It's like kids these days, they're always one step ahead. Huh. The officer asks the host what he's doing with such a big house anyway, which I don't think anybody would ever ask somebody. But he says he loves to party.
It's a strange question.
Right? Excuse me, rich guy, why do you have a big house?
Yeah, it's really weird.
Then we go back to that girl that's blowing Mike. She comes back to him and saying that now he owes her one, and she wants him to go down on her. As she walks away, he makes this face like he's disgusted by this idea. And then she yanks him, and they go to the basement. They, on their way making down the hall, they're losing layers as they're making out. Outside with the officers, we see that they're driving away, and the host is staring up at the window where Chelsea's at. But then the door opens, she's able to run out of the room.
Why couldn't she just break a window or something? You know?
I don't know.
Kind of weird.
Back to Mike and that woman. She loses her bra, and she starts forcibly throwing him around the room with specimens, breaking things before she pushes him into a room, locks the door, and when he tries to get out, the knob breaks off.
Oh, yeah, man, locking people in rooms, such devilish torment.
Well, he starts to get creeped out by all the specimens and props, but he says to himself that they're just props. They're just really good props, so don't be scared.
Giving compliments to the props guy, I guess.
Yeah, right. Then he finds the body of Derek, which he thinks is fake at first, but when he removes the blanket, he sees his insides, and then he finds his head in one of those jars. Mm-hmm. He then puts his hand down on something which is covered in blood, and that's when he stares at the hook he was touching earlier in the movie. It starts to swing. That's when Bound 2 shows up, pulls the lever, which sends the hook to impel him and lift him in the air. I knew Henry Cavill could fly. He keeps turning the crank, which seems to dig deeper into his body and killing him. Then Pinhead comes out to look at the dead body and says, "This is just the beginning." But since that's the third of the 5 of them dying, it seems like we're way past the beginning.
Yeah.
But maybe he meant the beginning of his pain. I don't know.
I think interpreted as being like some of the lines in the other movies where the idea is he's dragging someone to hell.
Yeah, I got it. Outside the house, Chelsea is running, screaming for the officers to wait, but she's too late. She gets in her Ford Explorer, which won't start because it's out of gas, which is probably because they got in the wrong car after they filled up. That's my one joke. I had to bring it back. The host is in the back seat. Bus had been waiting there for a while. Pops up saying, "It's like you're in a horror movie, isn't it?" And she starts.
He says a bad horror movie.
Does he?
He does.
That's awesome.
And that's. I'm like, oh my God, they are calling themselves out.
Completely. So she starts to run on foot. Inside, Jake is looking at candles that are giving him more flashes of Adam digging. Adam switches to pouring that gasoline or kerosene all over his body. He grabs a candle to set himself ablaze with CGI fire.
It's like a bad horror movie.
Right? It seems like Jake, who is somehow seeing this, feels it as well. Outside, Chelsea runs into a police officer. He asks if she's the girl that called for help. When he asks her name, it seems like that second question takes her a long time to figure out. And when she says her name, it sounds like the worst delivered line ever. When she's like, "Chelsea!" And then her accent just seems weird. I don't know if she was supposed to be panicked or what. Then the officer radios in, but before he can say he found the girl, a stake comes through the back of his head, out of his mouth, and through his radio. When he hits the ground, it reveals that Pinhead's behind him, who tells her that she doesn't understand that there's no way out. And then says the classic line, "Oh, what wonders we have to show you." Then her phone rings. It's Jake, which again, it shouldn't say Jake. Anyway.
Again, it's all a dream.
Right.
Nothing.
He says that the house is coming for him and begs Chelsea not to abandon him. So she tells him she's coming and she runs back. Then we cut to the host who's actually saying these words, and he's saying it in his voice, but she's hearing it in Jake's voice. And this is supposed to be how he's calling them and suggesting things happening in their world.
Yeah.
Back inside, she gets in the house. It's now empty, and from Jake's point of view, it's also empty. Chelsea calls Jake. She's running up the stairs, and he's near the entrance. She doesn't understand Well, he doesn't understand why she would think something was wrong with him, but he thinks there's something wrong with the house, and neither of them know where anyone is. Chelsea opens the door to reveal that Chatterer 3 is on the other side. She screams this time and says it better be you, Mike. But then a very dead-looking Mike with one white eye and the other stapled shut says it's a great party. Allison comes out with her eyes white and open throat like the long line of female Cenobites in the franchise called Deep Throat.
But they seem happy.
Oh, they seem very happy. But we said that before, right?
They don't seem to be in pain. They don't seem to be in any kind of distress. What if that's what being dead is? What's she afraid of? Right? There's no threat of torment here. The threat is I'm going to torment you so much that you just have fun, have a blast with your friends.
They're not pretty anymore. Maybe that's what it is.
Maybe that's what it is.
She's really pretty. She's got this cute small top and these really well-fitting leather pants.
Okay, yeah.
And maybe she's afraid to lose those.
I could see that, I guess. Yeah.
They all chase her as she's able to lock herself in the attic where a bird flies and scares her. She gets a call from a private number. She tells him that it's the host. She tells him he's pretending to be Pinhead, and it doesn't matter because, again, she didn't open the box, and continues with the whole world isn't real. It's all a myth.
Yeah.
He tells her she will come to believe and gives her a hint that it is all about a box, and then he hangs up. Jake goes to the office that they were first took shots in, not him, but other people, to look for something to help. He grabs a leather opener, and he hears who he thinks is Chatterer behind him, but when he turns around, he aims for its chest and ends up stabbing Chelsea right in the heart, which reminds me of a scene in The Descent, which came out the same year. She falls backwards while in shock. Lots of blood is pumping out. He screams no. She tells him it'll be okay, and he says he's sorry and begs her not to die. His phone rings, and it says it's from Chelsea. So he sets her down, picks up the phone. He screams, "What the F," into the phone. And Chelsea's calling from the attic, telling him to calm down, asking what happened. He looks to see there's no body, and he hasn't killed anybody. She asks if she can ask a stupid question and asks if a place could be a portal to the real Hellworld.
Which is a way cooler concept than the actual concept of this movie.
Yes, I know.
Like, that's what they should have done.
He says someone wants him to believe that, but he's not buying it. He asks her where are the engineers, where are the jailers, and the Pinhead is supposed to show up and just take you to hell. Chelsea says maybe they're already dead, which is definitely the answer for Inferno and Hellseeker. Yeah. He says that she has been saying that nobody opened... He says what she has been saying the whole time. No one opened the box. She says maybe it has nothing to do with the box and they already went to hell because they deserve to go to hell. When he asks what for, she says... Let me read it. Hold up. When he asks what for, she says for not saving Adam from himself. Not saving Adam from Hellworld. She says that she doesn't think that they're going to make it out, but he promises her that when they do, they will see the most beautiful sunrise ever. She tells him that she's in the attic, and he tells her to stay there because he's on his way. Jake then sees the liquor and remembers Mike and Derek taking shots, Allison spraying herself in the face, and the host saying, knock yourself out. He remembers the ink on the tarot card getting onto Mike's finger, which it doesn't matter because Mike took a shot as well.
Yeah.
Why would he need both? I don't know.
I feel like the shots weren't originally in there or something.
Yeah.
It seems like they have a different way for all the characters who took the shots to have been poisoned.
I don't know what Derek's would have been. I missed it then. If it wasn't the shot. But
Wait,
I don't know.
I don't lose I'm losing the names. Is he the one? He was not the one with the inhaler?
He was the one with the inhaler.
Well, that's what I was talking about.
Oh, you're thinking, okay, yeah. All right. That's possible then.
It seems like, and maybe they realized how absurd it was for some of the characters to not get poisoned until halfway through the movie.
Yeah.
And so they're like, oh, maybe we need to add some other scene
where
in the beginning.
Shots.
Yeah. I don't
Okay.
know.
That makes sense.
It's just a theory.
It would have been easier if they all just took shots right then. It would have solved the problem.
I agree.
Right. All right. Chelsea finds a file with information on all her friends. One photo reveals something, but the movie doesn't let us see it yet. She keeps the photo and looks for more clues. When a voice whispers her name, gets her attention. She leans into a crack in the floor where she hears the voice that says it's just a game. She thinks it's Adam, so she reaches down to grab him, but it grabs her. She starts yelling for Jake to help, who's climbing up the first set of stairs. But instead of continuing, he starts yelling at her to tell her it's not real, don't believe it, none of it's real. Eventually this works, and whatever it was isn't there to hold her anymore. She grabs the photo again and runs down to Jake. She runs to hug him. He starts to go on about how all this is one big trap and he doesn't know why. When she stops him to show him the photo she found, saying that it's all Adam's dad. And we see a photo at Adam's birthday party with the host, who's his father, celebrating one of Adam's birthdays. The host shows up.
Which, in the context of the real story, I guess means she's just remembering this?
Yeah, I don't know.
It doesn't make sense.
But they never met him before that office meeting. They said that none of them ever met his father. They didn't think he really existed.
Yeah. They didn't think this through much at all, it seems like.
Right. The host stops them from leaving, asking if they're planning to leave without saying goodbye. This is where Chelsea gives Jake a weird smirk and delivers an amazing spinning round kick to the host's face, sending him flying over the balcony railing, which Margot always likes to point out that the railings are designed to prevent this kind of thing. Anyway.
That's a good point.
They look over. He hits the floor. As they run out, they see the host sit up, and they make it out the front door. Some of the host is standing there waiting. It's like this. There's two ways to go down the stairs, so they run up and down the other side. They make it into the woods, and they come across 5 fresh graves that all seem to be equipped with these giant breathing holes.
Like tubes, yeah.
Yeah, and then they're confused.
As are we by this point, I think.
Yeah. So she asks Jake, what is it? And Jake says it's us. The host comes up sounding like Jake was part of the plan, explaining that he was online pretending to be the lover he was going to hook up with at this party, and he used Jake to learn all about Hellworld, even though he could have just looked it all up on the internet. The host says that it was his way to get revenge on all of the people that put him in his grave. Jake points out that the host was never there for Adam, spent his whole life waiting for a father who never came home, and adds that his father didn't even show up to his funeral. When Jake says that they were the only family that Adam ever really had, the host asks if he still thinks he has a fighting chance. Jake goes to attack the host, but he goes right through them like he's a spirit. And then we see him screaming from inside his grave, trying to fight for a way out. Chelsea tries to start digging him out. The host comes over and says he did this all for revenge because her and her friends were right, because Hellworld never existed and was all in their mind. He then kicks her into an open grave, and she wakes up in her grave fighting for a way out, and for some reason she has the Nokia phone next to her, which confused me. Like, wait.
Well, I think it's been that most of these reawakenings and discoveries are still hallucinations.
Yeah.
But it's like the hallucinations are getting closer and closer to the reality of their situation as they're gradually coming out of it.
Right.
I think that's what it is. So like that, even that didn't happen, right? She is still in the box.
Yeah.
But the fact that hallucination was something around the boxes
is getting closer.
It's because she's starting to get closer to realizing where she really is. Yeah.
Right. So we see where Jake had the nail go through his finger from the puzzle box, and Chelsea was drugged with the nail in her arm. He tells them that he buried them with cell phones and ventilation so they wouldn't miss out on any of the sweet suffering. He says that with the cell phones he could communicate subliminal suggestions, and their imaginations did the rest. He says that during this they confused things while having He says that during this they confessed to things while also having orgasms, and none of this was going to stop himself from enjoying the party. And we show that he went back in the party and celebrated while they were in their graves. He says that Allison clawed out her own neck because she thought she was getting killed by a trap, while Derek's asthma did him in, and Mike died of fright. Chelsea tells the host that they loved Adam and didn't deserve this, but he replies to tell him when they see him. Then says, "Your dreams are over, Chelsea. Your nightmare is about to begin. See you in hell." He starts to attack the grave with a shovel. He keeps making holes in it, and we see that the phone is calling someone, and the phone's displaying answering, which I know phones don't do, but it's a dream. And then it transitioned to her being dig up by the police. It's daytime. She's still screaming, and she thinks they're trying to kill her. It takes her a bit to understand where she is, and it doesn't help that she sees Mike, Derek, then Allison lying dead in their exhumed coffins. Yeah. As they pull out Jake onto a stretcher, she notices he is moving. She runs to wake him up to tell him that they made it. He tells her with a smile, "I still owe you that sunrise." The same officer that was talking to the host earlier explains, in case anybody had questions at this point, that they'd been missing for 3 days and they had all but given up the search when a phone call called the police and they were able to trace it to this exact spot. He then adds that the house owner cleared out days ago and covered his tracks pretty well, but don't worry, we're going to find them. So at this point, I thought the Nokia that were buried with them is what made the 911 call.
Right.
But he says that her phone was found inside the house that made the call.
Yeah.
And he theorizes that maybe the owner called, even though he just said the owner's been gone for days. That's when she looks up the window and sees someone standing there who fades away like a ghost whose mission is complete. And according to the internet, that's supposed to be Adam, who is saving their lives.
Yeah.
Then we cut to a hotel where the host is sitting, smoking cigarettes, drinking alcohol. He's going through Adam's belongings. He sees the picture of him and Adam. He sees a picture of Jake and Adam, and he folds it so we don't have to see Jake anymore. And then he reveals that the lament configuration was with the stuff. For some reason here, he decides to solve it, freaks out when it actually does something, and naturally Pinhead, Bound, and Chatterer show up.
And of course, this is the only time in the movie that anything that is actually supernatural happens, right?
Yeah.
So,
except for the ghosts.
Okay, that's true.
The ghost of Adam.
Let me rephrase. The only time in the movie anything that's actually Hellraiser related happens.
Yes, right, yeah.
Because everything else is just a hallucination based on a game.
Right, exactly.
So
he doesn't want to believe it, but Pinhead says seeing is believing and says he should have come for him a long time ago. The host frantically tries to wake him up. The host tries to wake himself up from a nightmare, but Chatterer and Bound slice him into pieces, though the effect isn't amazing. It sort of reminds me of Cube and Resident Evil, who both did it way better.
Yeah.
Pinhead gets one last amazing line of, "How's that for a wake-up call?" Jake and Chelsea are shown driving in the sunrise when they receive a mysterious call from the host, who suddenly appears in the back seat. He grabs the wheel, and the two almost crash, but they're able to stop the vehicle. The last scene shows the police entering the room of the host, who had opened the box, the walls blood smeared, and the box laying on the floor. The end.
The end. So,
they got the sunrise.
well, okay. if we zoom out.
Yeah.
If we zoom out and look at the movie through blurry Coke bottle glasses.
Yeah. I wouldn't be able to see those great leather pants.
Well, true. But if you squint and blur your eyes enough, you could say, okay, the whole concept of it was all a dream by Adam's dad to get back at them that's kind of neat, right? Mm-hmm. That's clever. I thought that was an interesting direction for things to go. But and I mean, most of the acting was all right. I mean, it wasn't great, but it rarely is in Hellraiser movies.
Yeah.
I just kind of, first of all, rant incoming.
Yeah.
First of all, Hellraiser needs to stop being a series about dreams because like the first couple of movies were about reality.
Yeah.
And it was scary. And then it seems like most of them have been, oh, it's all a dream. No one knows what's real and what's not. You're dreaming this, you're hallucinating that.
5 on were that.
Yeah. And it's come on, guys. Can we have some real stuff happen, you know?
Sure.
And
well, in that regard, the next one might please you.
Okay. Well, yeah, I am looking forward to that.
That's great. Yeah.
But also just all around, like the cinematography to me was really bland and uncreative.
Yeah.
Noticeably so.
Yeah.
It felt very journeyman, very, just phoned in. And as we've both pointed out many times, the writing is so half-assed, quarter-assed even. It just seems like they didn't think about it much. It has the feeling of the whole script being written in one drunken night by one person, right? Like, it's just not good.
Yeah.
And then the music also, the music was just bad.
I felt like the one montage scene where Chelsea and Jake were seeing what they're doing at the same time right after Jake had sex.
Yeah?
I thought that was a good music scene.
Oh, maybe.
That one song in the movie was good.
Sure.
Yeah.
But just on the whole.
Sure. I mean, it was definitely generic club music a lot.
Yeah. It just is disappointing. Honestly, it's a little disappointing.
Okay, one thing for me that was a little hard to stomach was the fact that Le Marchand was supposed to have built this house, we believe, before he built the puzzle box.
Well, if you believe anything.
Right. That doesn't seem to work for me.
Well, I don't think he was telling the truth, right? He didn't even think the puzzle box was real.
Okay.
Right?
Okay. All right. That works for me then, because I was like, that seemed far-fetched. That might be all I have.
Yeah.
Where do you rank this one amongst the others? This is Pinhead's last one, or Doug Bradley's last one of the 8 movies.
I'm not sure exactly why Doug Bradley didn't do any more of these.
I don't know
Did
either.
he
I have to
die or
look it up.
something? I don't know.
No, he's still alive.
So, but I gotta say, if he left because at this point he was like, "Screw this, this just isn't good anymore," then I kind of agree with him. Like, this might be the
Sure.
worst one so far.
Okay.
I mean, it wasn't completely absent of anything interesting, but even the horror scenes, even the gore scenes, right? It's like,
Right.
okay, the neck thing was kind of good, but then like a beheading, locking people in rooms, someone
Yeah.
needing their inhaler and then falling asleep, like it. And they didn't even show them kill him, right? Like,
Right.
and I mean, so it just feels like such a step down. I don't think it is at the same level as the
Right.
other movies.
It's funny because I put a lot of thought into it. I really do think ranking them would be in order from 1 to 8. Like, and I think
Yeah.
because each one just was a little bit worse. And even when 6 repeated 5, the fact that they brought Kirsty's original actor back,
Right.
Ashley
yeah.
Lawrence, to play it, made me like it more than 7, which had at least a little bit newer plot line, but still
Yeah.
had a lot of plot holes.
I think you might be right. I mean, I think you're on pretty firm ground saying that 1 through 8 are numbers 1 through 8. Like,
Yeah, it's insane.
you may have a good point there.
All right, cool. Well, thanks for talking with me about this movie.
Well, thanks for having me.
Yeah, I look forward to the next one. Everybody, thank you for listening. We are Nightmare Echoes. We have new episodes every Monday. We're also now on YouTube, so it's the links in the description. So check us out there.
All right.
Thanks.
Try to stay above ground.
Oh, yeah.